or whatever the favored covenant would be per class. I mean, we saw it a little bit yesterday with the Moonkin opting to run Necrolord, I believe it was. Is that something we're going to see repeat today, or are they going to generally all be picking the same covenant for their respective classes?
There's a couple classes that I think are debatable. Warrior is, I think, pretty open-ended in terms of what's the best one in any situation. I don't think that there's a clear answer for that on Warrior, other than don't go Necro Lord Warrior, which is a little bit disappointing because the Necro Lord plate set is really awesome. But I don't think we'll see a Necro Lord Warrior, but even Night Fae Warrior, I know Bajir's been playing it, and I've faced it a couple times, and it's Ancient Shockwave actually hits pretty hard, and it gets you a little bit of crowd control. Particularly Venthyr seems to be leveling up for Warriors, but there's not going to be any Warriors in game number 1 here. We're going to be seeing Aiden on a Windwalker, so this is what a lot of teams are considering the meta. Windwalker, Mage, Paladin, and whereas the Golden Guardians, they're sticking to their colors here with that Rogue Shadow Priest Shaman.
All right, we got game number 1 launching right now. Peekaboo getting a sap here onto Aiden. They get the cheap shot onto Aiden. They're going to be going after this Windwalker. Kidney shot on Aiden's Trinket right there. They burst through the Karma right away. The Mind Game's coming in from WizK as well. Beautiful opener here. Shadowy duel. Peekaboo looking to close out the match immediately here in the opening stages. Aiden using his last line of defense right there. Finally, the sacrifice coming in from Oxygen, and that's going to give Aiden a little room to breathe.
Yeah, give him a little bit of a moment here, but they traded out Trinket Karma, Diffuse, Trinket from Oxygen, the Sacrifice as well, but a little bit of it damage finally incoming. Peekaboo controlling up the game, and we'll have to see if Unitas is able to rise to the occasion here. I think on paper, a lot of people would consider the Windwalker Mage good into the RPS, but you have to really be on point. We'll have to see WizK right now trying to get out some dot damage. It gets interrupted. Aiden still with that Weapons of Order, putting out massive damage on that Windwalker Monk, just crushing anyone he looks at right now. Dragon's Breath onto Absterge. Can there be any more crowd control? It doesn't look like it. Golden Guardians do manage to stabilize. We'll have to see if they're able to strike back and capitalize on all those cooldowns they got so early on.
So this game for WizK is all about Silence Mind Bomb, which he's utilizing right now, and we see Aiden preemptively try and avoid damage, but Peekaboo is in hot pursuit, sapping out of the Mind Bomb. This could be KO if they aren't careful. Aiden critically low on health. Oxygen, Divine Shields out of the sap, bombing in some big heals, buying Aiden some time, but I would say it is looking clean so far for the Golden Guardians. They do need to start protecting WizK here, looking for a Master Spell, doesn't find it. Defenses are limited. Absterge probably hovering over that Spirit Link Totem at any moment if Aiden lands some big hits here. Fist of Fury flying, but WizK appears to be fine. Earthen Wall Totem is down, and the Golden Guardians survived the onslaught, now still holding their Shaman's Gladiator's Medallion. They can get aggressive here. No Divine Shield, no Medallion. Looks like they even want to go after Oxygen on that Paladin. No, setting up a cheap shot. Mind Games on Aiden, gets Dragon's Breath. They need to stop this Mind Games. Aiden gonna portal out of line of sight. Peekaboo chasing after him. Ring of Peace preventing Peekaboo's pursuit. Nice play by Aiden. You can tell that both of these teams are playing at a high level, avoiding these moments that would otherwise be the end of the game, and they're anticipating each other's moves perfectly.
Very, very nice plays there from Aiden. That's going to allow his Trinket and his Karma to rotate back of CD. Now, CMD going for a solo play there, trying to get a sheep onto Absterge, but Peekaboo's been doing a great job so far, shutting it down, but he did use his stun DRs there onto Aiden, so right now there's not really any good target here for the Golden Guardians. Oxygen, as soon as the silence ends here, he should be able to recover everybody, and now it's all about kind of just staying alive for a little bit on the side of Golden Guardians, waiting for those stun DRs to come back up so they can do another setup. Peekaboo now in a lot of trouble here. Nice Master Spell. Is it going to be enough, though, is the question. Absterge dropping the Earthen Wall Totem there. Nice MD coming out from WizK there. Going to save Absterge from using his Trinket there. Going to save Peekaboo from dying there. There's the Disarm now onto Peekaboo. As soon as the Disarm ends, we can anticipate a setup to be launched here from the Golden Guardians. He's going to look for potentially a double cheap shot here on the DPS and a kidney maybe on the healer, or WizK might be looking. Ooh, Peekaboo in a lot of trouble here. Combustion gets ripped out. Absterge, Trinket, Spirit Link there. Nice opening here for the team of Unitas here, and they're not letting go with the pressure. Nice incapacitate as well onto Pika. They're stopping this setup as well.
Yeah, looking very durable. CMD, though, getting swapped to. Big dispels coming in from WizK, getting off that Triune barrier. CMD just spamming out the polymorphs right now, but he is under fire. Peekaboo, shadowy duel. CMD getting low. Are they going to be able to get the Cauterize? It's so close. They do get it. They get that cheat death from the Fire Mage. He's burning, running around, looking for some sort of crowd control. Sacrifice trades out by Oxygen as well, but a little bit late there. unable to prevent the Cauterize, and now the Golden Guardians, they're just going to be looking for a reset, looking for that crowd control once again. We have to find where are the openings here for Unitas in terms of mana. They do have a lead, so maybe they could just sit on WizK, just put out as much damage as they can, try to out mana, look for swaps on Peekaboo, but right now Unitas is falling apart a little bit.
Yeah, they're waiting for that Zwen, that combustion, still over 30 seconds away from those powerhouse cooldowns, and an Ice Block gets mass dispelled. CMD low, Oxygen picks him up just in the nick of time, but Golden Guardians are showing signs of life as we see Unitas engage crowd control to try and close this out. Double Blinding Light, double leg sweep, beautiful combo here by Unitas. Polymorph for follow-up, we need to see a mass dispel. WizK instead choosing to use Shadow Mend, supporting Peekaboo with some off heals, does get interrupted by Aiden, but the crowd control's over. Absterge is free, it's time to get aggressive for the Golden Guardians. Absterge is leading the charge with the Ascendants, making sure his team is totally stable. Mind Bomb secured. CMD is the target. No Cauterize, no block. WizK bombs in. Huge damage with that Mind Games. Oxygen comes out, dispels the Mind Games, but Lava Bursts are flying in as well. CMD still looking sturdy despite that crowd control from the Golden Guardians. Mirror Image is now active, reducing damage as they look to try and poke through. Absurge getting ready for the attack here. Aiden wants to move in for a Paralyze. Zwen the Tiger is out. This is going to ramp up a lot of damage for Aiden in the future. Storm, Earth, and Fire. Huge pressure from Aiden, trying to get Peekaboo off of CMD, but Peekaboo stuns him away on his cooldown. Shadow steps over to Oxygen for a cheap shot and avoids Aiden at the same time. Nice moves by Peekaboo. CMD still very low. Oxygen trinkets out of crowd control, trying to top his team with the Avenging Wrath, but even with Avenging Wrath, he is struggling. Silenced now by WizK, and that's a KO. Golden Guardians take game one.
What a play by Peekaboo right there. He's getting set up on right there at the end, but he actually turns the setup on its head, does a counter go there, blinds Oxygen, forces out his trinket, gets the stun on his trinket after that. WizK with the follow-up. Beautiful.
Man, it's those types of games where they just die so quickly. I looked away for 2 seconds and I looked back and CMD was dead. Golden Guardians taking that game number 1 victory here. And these guys are looking like they're going to be a pretty tough contender for this team here. What do you think, Super Tees?
Yeah, I mean, this is... I feel like if they were playing on ladder, they would be saying, like, how do we ever beat Windwalker Mage? Windwalker Mage is so difficult to actually beat, but on Tournament Realm, with higher health pools, which is important when you're fighting burst damage, like Windwalker Fire Mage, just that extra 10,000 health that you get from having a 227 or 226 item level appears to be enough to survive the setups. And whereas for the Golden Guardians, having that Restoration Shaman to do a bit of extra damage over the Paladin seems to be getting them some value. It still seems to be an uphill fight nonetheless. Like, this wasn't one-sided, but they're able to pull off victories. Now, maybe Unitas, Oxygen's obviously known for playing Priest in the past. Aiden's known for playing Rogue, so they are venturing off into a little bit of alt territory, and they're fighting a team that has literally played this comp for so many years that I don't even know, and they just rely on Shadow Priest Rogue. So maybe we see Unitas switch back to their Rogue Mage, but I feel like Rogue Mage is going to have a tough time with this as well. Unitas are going to have a struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult playing against these teams that have been playing together quite some time, a little bit longer than Unitas as well. Such as the move. They've been, buddies for a long, long time. Lots of synergy on this team. We're going to take a look at a clip from that last game and break down this kill for you guys.
All right, so this is the moment right here. They're doing a setup onto Peekaboo, but he gets the blind onto Oxygen. His Shadow steps away before he's in danger, gets the stun onto the trinket, gets another stun right there, and then here Oxygen has a moment here to try to get some heals out, but he gets silenced right in the nick of time, and just enough burst damage there from WizK to take him down. And it's something we saw in the start. The Golden Guardians were kind of gunning down the Windwalker, but Aiden did a really good job just teleporting back, disarming, and just keeping himself alive. And they kind of realized, okay, we're going to have to go after this mage. And, I got to say, CMD, bro, Team Nightfay, bro. You got to go Nightfay, bro. What's going on with that Kyrian mage, dude? Soul shaped, you're gone.
Oh, man, CMD is Disappointing, Zico, something you never want to do. Speaking of covenants, though, hashtag Team Night Fae or hashtag whatever covenant you're on, replying to any of the tweets from WoW Esports, and those points will be tallied up. You can decide who the best covenant is and how many people are rooting for their respective covenants, so definitely go check that out. Use your hashtag in your covenant to tally up those points. Venriki, you wanted to see some Windwalkers yesterday, and you were talking about it this morning as well. Now that we've seen one, they've locked in Ashmane's Fall. Do you think they're going to switch it up now?
I don't know if I necessarily wanted to see the Windwalker monks, but I thought we would.
Okay.
There's been a lot of hype around them, and I do think they're really strong right now. Obviously, Unitas are going to be locking in the same composition. What I would like to see, I think Unitas, they need to I feel like they need to adjust their strategy a little bit more. They can play kind of a more of aggressive build like they were, where CMD was trying to go for a lot of crowd control and stuff like that, but I feel like they can win playing a little bit more passive as well. You know, just setups like a Hammer of Justice on Absurge and a Paralyze from Aiden, and just allow CMD to just do damage, just survive, do damage. You can use your Dragon's Breath defensively to peel or survive Peekaboo's goes. Might be a better option for them, and just kind of try to play for the long game instead, play a lot safer, and just kind of rely on the fact that you are really durable. You do have a lot of peels for that sub rogue. You're both playing Orc, so they can't really 100-0 you in stuns easily. And I think if we see a little bit of an adjustment in strategy from Unitas, they could make this matchup look a little bit better for themselves.
All right, Unitas down 1-0 against Golden Guardians. However, both of these teams so powerful. We've seen all of them play at the BlizzCon stage. It is game number 2, Unitas versus Golden Guardians.
I'm curious to see if they do decide to play a more defensive game here. They've selected a very large map, so I would anticipate that it's going to be interesting to see what their target's going to be. Are they going to go for the Rogue again or the Shadow Priest? Because they got all of WizK's cooldowns early on, and then we saw them make a swap to Peekaboo. They got all of his cooldowns, and then they just couldn't close the game out. So perhaps they should just pick a target and stay on it for the match here. WizK initially going to be the target as Peekaboo sneaks in, stunning Oxygen, Shadow stepping over to CMD. The Mage is going to be the target, but Aiden with a pre-grapple weapon denies Peekaboo, and huge pressure on WizK right off the bat. WizK fading that Zwen, the Tiger of Aiden, and he is still just laying waste to WizK. That's it. KO. Aiden says, I'm not playing around. It takes game 2 in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, that really is... That's the power of the Windwalker Monk. When you have your images, you have Zwen, you have Weapons of Order, if you do not respect that damage, you are going to find yourself in a situation like that. Unitas, they pull the trigger, they get the damage rolling, and Aiden, I'm excited to see the scoreboard for that one, because I feel like he absolutely crushed that game.
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, what a scary opener from Unitas. How did that differ from game number 1, Zico? Was Golden Guardians just not quite using their defensives enough, or was it something that Unitas did differently for game number 2?
Well, they definitely under-responded a little bit on the side of Golden Guardians, of course. But wow, look at that damage. 117,000. What is that? That is everybody on the entire map combined. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's more than everybody on the entire map combined. So Aiden definitely looking like a Windwalker main right now, despite being that rogue main. But yeah, also that grapple weapon as well just swung the momentum in their favor instantly as well. Peekaboo went for the kidney on the healer, and then he wanted to do the setup there on the mage, but he got disarmed right away, so he couldn't really do too much there. And then Aiden, he just decided, okay, well, let's do some damage now.
Yep, and let's check out that replay as well from that game number 2.
Yeah, I kind of want to look at how this replay did go down, because I feel like there are things you can do to prevent that damage. When Aiden, he actually did root the Zwen and stuff like that, so I guess Aiden just went with it. You can see the Earthgrab Totem did come in from Absurge, and Aiden was just high uptime on WizK, got some spinning crane kick procs, and that was it. That was quite insane.
High
uptime.
I
uptime 5 seconds. You have to, I feel like against Windwalker Monks, you really have to freak out. Like that moment, you're literally doing like 300%, 400% bonus damage. So you have to be very careful. But I guess what else can I say about that? That was a lot of damage.
So true.
Yep.
Well, we do have both of these compositions locked in, going to hook point once again. Question for you, Zico. So like you were saying, we do know Aiden as the rogue. They're opting to play the Windwalker here, though, instead of doing that classic rogue mage composition here. What's the advantage to that? What are the differences in these compositions?
Well, they do kind of similar things, but I feel like the Windwalker mage, it's not going to be on that same time limit compared to a rogue mage, and it's just kind of safer in general. I feel like rogue mage right now into what the Golden Guardians run is not what you want to be doing. If you run rogue mage into the Golden Guardians, you pretty much always lose. We've seen them dismantle so many teams, so I think it's just trying to get away from that matchup, and we're going to get into game number 3 here. Didn't quite expect that last game to be that quick, but now here we go. Big setup here happening onto Whiskey. He's going to trinket fade right away.
That was a nice play by Whiskey. He got knocked out of his Earthen Wall Totem from Absurd, so he activates Fade right away. But Zwen the Tiger is still out, jumping on Whiskey. Combustion is available. They could pull that out. Nice Earth Grab Totem on the Zwen after the Fade, splitting those cooldowns up. And now Peekaboo leads the charge on the CMD. Triune Barrier going to activate for CMD. Big shield on him. Whiskey still under fire, stun on Absturge. They're all stacked up. Will the Vampiric Embrace of Whiskey be enough to heal his team back up? Well, Absturge is continuously crowd controlled. They're pushing for the dispersion. They've landed a Ring of Frost on the Ascendants. Here comes the Radiant Spark. Huge damage with that Whirling Dragon Punch, and Whiskey respects it, trading the dispersion. Fair trade for the combustion. That was a Bless Your Protection kind of all in from Oxygen as well. Both defense and offense on each side has been traded. I would say that Unitas are slightly ahead, but Peekaboo looks to even the odds.
Yeah, that was... That was a pretty crazy setup right there with the Fire Mage Combust, but they immediately responded, and I feel like if they go 1 second later, the Fire Mage can just easily one-shot him there with that Kyrian Radiant Spark, already buffing the already high damage there of that Fire Mage. So I'm going to see CMD now in a little bit of trouble. Gets Shadowy Dueled here by Peekaboo. Going to be taking some damage there, but it looks like he is going to be somewhat okay there. Gonna get a few heals there despite being in that duel. You can still do some AoE healing there, and now I think Unitas is gonna look to set up the next setup here onto Whiskey.
Yeah, here it is. Paralyzed on Absturge. Aiden is there. He gets a grapple weapon onto Peekaboo, slowing down some of that damage onto CMD. Leg sweep not available for another 28 seconds. Aiden just picking one target. I like this a lot more. Just sit on Wiz-K, burn through Absurge's mana, allow Oxygen to get that instant crowd control. There's the Hammer of Justice. Peekaboo having to come back and stun up everyone to try to slow down this damage. But CMD maybe has overstayed his welcome a little bit. Zwen is up once again, but Peekaboo, he doesn't care. He's throwing caution to the wind. Big damage here on CMD. Can they get the Cauterize? Oxygen doesn't really have too many cooldowns. The Smoke Bomb does drop down. CMD immediately gets that Shimmer outside of that Smoke Bomb, allowing Oxygen to get those casted heals off. Once again, double leg sweep coming in from Aiden, but a beautiful preemptive Earthen Wall Totem. Polymorph comes in, but unfortunately, the cleave from Zwen breaks it. A bit devastating there for Unitas. A bit of a miscommunication as that full Polymorph would have maybe allowed them to get a dispersion.
They are winning on mana if they can stabilize here, but there's a Mind Bomb. This is the big power play. Mind Games is down on CMD. Lava Burst from Absturge. CMD blinks back out of line of sight of the Lava Burst. Staying alive, Oxygen was crowd controlled. Now Aiden's trying to get back on target, being Wiz-K here. Knows when, but Combust is available. They could set up a lot of damage. Peekaboo's going for a re-stealth. Is Oxygen going to be able to stop him? Doesn't look like it just yet. No, Crackling Jade Lightning from Aiden hits Peekaboo, preventing that re-stealth. Peekaboo's going to have to move forward, maybe commit the Vanish here. They're waiting for their Mind Bomb. Both teams set up based here. Oxygen leads in with the Paralyze first. Where's the Hammer? Hammers are down. It looks like CMD is the target, or sorry, Wiz-K is still the target. CMD is the target, but Golden Guardians are turning this around. Mind Bomb on Oxygen. CMD now is in trouble. If Wiz-K can land a Master Spell on the Ice Block, it could be game over if they're not careful. Oxygen is going to just trade Sacrifice for this crowd control exchange and totally negate Peekaboo's attack with that Shadow Blades. I think it's a fair exchange on Oxygen's part. However, he is now taking quite a lot of damage from that Sacrifice dot. He goes in for the Blinding Light. Now Wiz-K in trouble. Will he trade Dispersion? He wants to trade it for a cooldown, so he needs to try and get away with being greedy here. Holds on to the Dispersion while Absurge is in a Paralyze. Peekaboo stuns up Oxygen. Wiz-K moves in, trying to get some follow-up. Not able to find it. Silence is available. Likely has Mind Bomb as well, but Aiden totally shut that down. Grapple weapon on Peekaboo. Interrupts onto Wiz-K. Fists of Fury slowing the targets, preventing them from getting onto CMD. Aiden is playing a solid defense this game.
Yeah, it definitely is. I like what CMD is doing as well. Just make sure you're not over aggressive. You really don't need to be with this composition in this particular matchup. Just allow Aiden to get his work done, reset your combustion as often as you can. Peekaboo now going for a go, but Aiden once again shuts it down. And Windwalker Monks are just so disruptive to Subtlety Rogues. The grapple weapon, as well as that Ring of Peace, the Paralyze. Anytime they do damage, they can get shut down by that Monk. And unless they have cross crowd control on Aiden when they go after CMD, I feel like every single time he's going to be able to deny Peekaboo. Zwen once again comes in, and this is that big burst window for the Windwalker Monk, especially with that legendary. It gives Aiden basically bloodlust whenever he does use Zwen, and that's why you see these insane damage numbers coming in from the Windwalker Monk. CMD still under fire. Absurd chasing him down, and it's really important for WizK and Absurd to be spam purging CMD when they do have pressure. That Triune Barrier, really, really effective at shutting down damage, but if you can dispel it off, and you can as a Shadow Priest and a Shaman, you can really help Peekaboo push through those shields.
Ooh, big setup happening here now. People getting paralyzed there. Can WizK get into the fray here? He's trying, but he gets stopped there. Nice leg sweep. And now a counter setup here being launched by CMD and Aiden. Double blinding light, but Absturge stacking up for that meteor damage over time effect on the ground. It's going to break him out of CC. It's going to keep WizK nice and healthy. Kleptomania coming out from CMD, but now CMD in a cheap shot here. Nice double mind bomb. This is going to be the ice block most likely here. If Peekaboo can find the sap, he's looking for it. Not able to find it. He gets a kidney shot instead onto Oxygen. They're actually swapping over onto Oxygen. Nice Dragon's Breath defensively here by CMD, keeping his healer safe there. WizK also getting interrupted. Needs to be careful here. Aiden is doing a lot of damage, and this could easily be the dispersion here if he's not careful. He's casting Shadowlands, casting a Master Spell as well, but he is forced to use that dispersion cooldown, and Absturge's mana not looking great here 6 minutes into this game.
Yeah, I think if Unitas just continue playing solid defense, they're going to close this out and actually move to match point against the Golden Guardians, despite that Game 1 defeat. Although now with crowd control and Aiden and Oxygen, Golden Guardians show signs of life. Oxygen uses Blessing and Protection to break Sap, tries to get a Divine Favor, gets smoke bombed on his Divine Favor heal. WizK moves in to purge it off, does dispel the Divine Favor, now looking for Mind Games, gets interrupted by Aiden. This is a huge hit of attack! Meteor down, and WizK barely survives, fading on 10% of the combustion, but Zwen the Tiger is coming up in 3 seconds, and they just had to blind Aiden defensively. Things are about to unravel very quickly if Aiden pulls the trigger on this. They've even used the Earth Grab Totem before the Zwen Tiger. Oxygen just needs to trade Divine Shield if he's scared, get his team aggressive. They could do so much overwhelming damage. There's nothing standing between their line of victory at this point. Oxygen just needs to top the team, get that Zwen the Tiger out. Here comes Zwen. They're trying to pressure CMD down. Maybe offense is the best defense. They get caught, they get blocked. WizK could be in a lot of trouble. Absturge in a stun. This is huge pressure from Aiden as Unitas look to move to match point. Blinding light on 10%. WizK clutches out some Shadowmen. Shadowmen after Shadowmen, buying Absturge as much time as he can. How on earth is he still going to survive a full polymorph lands now? Peekaboo's just trying to kill CMD. Peekaboo's hard carrying, but Aiden shuts him down with a grapple. But despite all of that, WizK survived. Now he has dispersion available. They did everything that they needed to, and now defense is limited for Unitas. Golden Guardians still have an opportunity.
Ooh, WizK forced into the dispersion there. Big power play coming out. Peekaboo gonna use his Shadow Dance right there, trying to weather the storm after that big push that just happened. They force out the bubble, they force out the trinket, and they have nothing on the side of Golden Guardians. Whoever gets that next setup first is likely to win the game.
Yeah, WizK right now under fire once again. I don't know how he just survived, but Oxygen now is completely tapped on mana. 20% dampening. Damage is going to be king here. Who can get the setup? Hammer of Justice now onto Absturge. WizK, no dispersion for another 56 seconds. If they can get uptime, CMD does have combustion. This is an opportunity for them to get really aggressive. And keep in mind, WizK, he trinketed out of the last leg sweep. Aiden has that coming up in around 8 seconds. That's going to be an opportunity for a big combustion during a stun lock on WizK, and that's where Unitas could potentially find victory, but they need to figure out something relatively soon. The Oxygen's got no mana left. CMD, no cauterize, no ice block.
No way.
WizK gets caught into the double leg sweep. Meteor does get dropped down.
He missed
CMD
it!
with the big combustion. Where's the damage? Unfortunately, it does not land on WizK, and all that damage is going to be gone. And now Absturge finds a full hex out of the blind on Aiden. No help for CMD. They're just controlling Aiden. Oxygen has no mana, and it looks like CMD is going to get burnt down. Golden Guardians up 2-1.
Wow, what an insane game. It felt like Golden Guardians were just on the back foot the entire time there, but then at the end, they somehow managed to get Oxygen's trinket, bubble, like everything. Ice
they're going for it.
Ooh, they're just playing the 2v2 out here. Let's see. They force out the dispersion here. Oxygen now in a kidney shot. Let's see what they can get done here. I think Oxygen. Ooh, actually, they might get this. Aiden gets the paralyzed. Nice sheep shot there by Peekaboo. That's going to be the Spirit Link. Oxygen has no mana and no HP. And that is going to be the win for the Golden Guardians.
Man, super close cross kill, or almost got that cross kill there, but Golden Guardians going to be winning game number 3, putting them at 2-1 versus Unitas here. Incredible pressure, I feel like, coming out from both of these teams here, and the defensive strategies that were being sort of traded out throughout that game superties were really impressive.
I can't believe that one moment where Swen was available, there were no cooldowns for it, that WizK didn't just fall over. Like that was the moment. I almost think like Oxygen should have just bubbled during that time, got out of crowd control, done damage. CMD should have just blocked at high health to get out of crowd control and do damage. I really think at that moment it was like, okay, we need to all in. There's nothing left. They can't escape crowd control. Let's just pump out as much as we can and close the game out, because they were so close and they were kind of just like on the back foot while they were trying to do it at the same time. If they just all committed and all in at that moment, I think they would have been able to win. So maybe finding that moment, they just wanted to play a conservative strategy, just stick and play safe and like, hey, we got the setup, we'll just keep playing, right? We'll win, right? And then it didn't work. Oxygen actually ended up running out of mana. So maybe they will have to try and find their moment moving forward. Aiden's definitely doing a good job. I mean, I feel like his scoreboard and just in the game as well. The grapple weapons are all well timed. I see a lot of good Ring of Peace placement, double leg sweep punish. And the main reason I'm highlighting is because Aiden is actually playing an alt here. So he's normally playing a rogue. So his performance on Monk is looking pretty well. Perhaps it's just a team thing in terms of trying to just execute the game out. Obviously, they're fighting the Golden Guardians, and this is a team that will do this to everybody in the competition. They'll play against the strongest comp or the perceived strongest comp and be on the back foot for 10 minutes straight, and then in the last second when you're like, there's no way they can do it, and then they do it. So I'm not even really like upset with Unitas for not being able to pull it off, because this happens all the time.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, it's got to be pretty terrifying sort of playing an alt class, because we're seeing Aiden do against a team like the Golden Guardians. So super good, like super high kudos to them. Unitas holding off their pressure, their immense pressure from Golden Guardians super well here. In game number, this next game, we're going to be going to Tiger's Peak here. Golden Guardians now going to choose their composition here. Do we feel like both of these teams, Zico, are going to lock in those same classes, or do we want Unitas to maybe switch something up, maybe put Aiden back on that rogue in that comfort position?
I think if Unitas swap anything out, it's that they bring in Yaski on the Warrior. I don't think... I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the same matchup play out again, but I think if they do want to swap something, it would be the Warrior. Warriors have been super successful.
You know what I think Yask should bring out?
What? I feel like you're going to say some tank spec or something.
Prop Paladin Windwalker. What would Shadow Priest Rogue do?
I don't know. Maybe
I feel like they would just do nothing.
I'm not sure.
I know he has been playing. I have him on B tag. I know he has been playing Prot, and we saw it in the open bracket a little bit, but Prop Paladin is crazy right now. So I mean, maybe Unitas don't need it, but I think that's something they could use.
I wonder if Warrior, that's another composition that is kind of popular, is the Warrior Windwalker Monk. And that seems like it would be really disruptive and annoying for a subtlety rogue. You just go on the priest as much as you can. Maybe you make swaps to the rogue and stuns, but sit on the priest, put out tons of warrior windwalker damage, and then you you have so many peels for the rogue. That might be a good option as well for Unitas.
On Tiger's Peak as well, Venriky?
Yeah, I actually feel like in that matchup, the map doesn't really matter. Just sit on the priest the whole game. You basically get to dictate where the fight is happening. I think that could potentially be their best option. I mean, I feel like Windwalker Mage Paladin is looking good too. Definitely have opportunities in the game to win. I feel like if that Combustion Meteor landed, it might have been able to close out the game and take down WizK. So it just comes down to little things like that in this match.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate when you see moments like this happen, but that just goes to show the high level of competition that these guys are playing at. There really are no room for mistakes here, as we just saw in that last game. But I would not count out Unitas just yet. We've seen these guys perform at a very, very high level. 50 seconds left to choose their composition. Definitely curious to see what exactly they have in store for Golden Guardians. We are here in the lower bracket, so loser of this match unfortunately knocked out of the tournament. And as we mentioned several times yesterday, these guys need as many points as possible to get into that circuit. Top 8 teams at the end of the 4 cups will be moving on to the circuit. So every win counts here, and Unitas probably feeling that pressure right now here. I feel like it's a bit indicative when they use their full timer to pick their composition, that they're really choosing super carefully here on what exactly they want to do, Zico.
Yeah, I mean, they're on match point, and I don't know. I agree here. No, okay, they're gonna go with the Windwalker Mage. I mean, the game was close, so we don't hate the pick, but I just feel like if you play Windwalker Mage into Golden Guardians, I feel like you need to play at least like 8.5 out of 10 to win. But if
That's
you play
very
like
specific.
Warrior, I feel like the Warrior
8.5.
alone is gonna like drag that score down a little bit. You can get away with making a few more mistakes. You're gonna have that consistent damage. You're gonna have that that melee that's gonna be slowing things down. And like even Warrior Mage, I feel like it's actually pretty decent because the only thing that they can really do is go after the enemy mage. And mages are super tanky right now. If CMD just tries to play to live and he has intervene and stuff on his side, I feel like it actually becomes really hard for Golden Guardians to get a kill. But this is also a fine matchup. That last game was extremely close. They had 2 close calls on Whiskey, and yeah, if they got that Combust Meteor, I mean, the Shadow Priest was like 50% HP, so I think if that hit, it probably would have killed him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've seen Unitas kill Golden Guardians here, win a game very, very early with that explosive damage from the Windwalker. And with that last game, we saw them make it quite a ways into deep dampening Venruki. What's a more reliable strategy for this team if Unitas wants to secure a win here?
I feel like what they did is exactly what they need to do. Just survive, do as much damage as you can, do consistent setups with your instant crowd control. You have Dragon's Breath. Maybe you can get a Polymorph, but you don't really need it. You can just use Paralyze. You can use Dragon's Breath. You can use Hammer of Justice, Blinding Light. Just go after Whiskey, making sure you're stacking interrupts on him, lock him on Shadow, lock him on Master Spell, and just force cooldowns that way. And I think Golden Guardians, you have to give them a lot of credit because this is not an easy matchup to win as Rogue Shadow Priest Shaman, but they're making it work. They're getting the setups. They're surviving. Barely sometimes, but they are surviving, and they're up in the series 2-1. Unitas right now on match point. If they do not win this game, they are eliminated from this tournament this weekend, and we'll have to see if they can rise to the occasion. Peekaboo goes in for a sap, and it looks like he'll be starting on Aiden.
Ooh, he's starting out pretty aggressively here. Already half of Aiden's health gone right on the first cheap shot. Manages to trade Karma, trying to hold on to further cooldowns, but Peekaboo is chasing after him here around the corner. He ports away from Peekaboo. Absterge is in line of sight, but he gets paralyzed. Aiden setting up leg sweep on Whiskey, but Peekaboo dodges it. Now goes for a defensive shadowy duel, preventing any damage onto Whiskey. However, it was a duel not during the Zwen Tiger, so Aiden still has cooldowns. He could overwhelm Whiskey if he's not careful. Aiden's lining him up. Storm, Earth, and Fire. Double Dragon's Breath. CMD looking to try and find crowd control. Gets interrupted. They need to crowd control Absterge. The Zwen the Tiger gets rooted. All the images get rooted. Aiden gets totally shut down on his biggest burst. Now Aiden in trouble. Stunlock. Golden Guardians totally defuse that situation, and now Aiden has to defuse and dies through it. Golden Guardians close it out 3-1. Beautiful shutdown.
Unbelievable.
What an insane opener.
That was absolutely crazy. I mean, from start to finish, Golden Guardians, they had the pressure in that matchup. Aiden really didn't have a moment to breathe. It just felt like he was either running away or just trying desperately to survive. And Golden Guardians, they were able to really capitalize on a bit of defensive cooldown mismanagement and really punish their opponents. And unfortunately for Unitas, they are now eliminated.
Ven, was it you earlier that